My dear child, right now, the heavens are leaning in close because there's a message meant specifically for you. It's not a coincidence that you've come across this moment. This is divine timing. Behind the scenes, something extraordinary is unfolding. You may feel as if you're going about your day unaware, but your name has been spoken in rooms you haven't even entered yet. A person with great authority has made a decision that directly concerns you. And whether you see it yet or not, it's beginning to shape the course of your life. You've been walking a path that's required more faith than most people can understand. In moments where you felt unseen, unheard, or overlooked, heaven was watching attentively. Every tear you shed in silence, every prayer whispered in the dark, every time you chose to believe even when there was no evidence, that was noticed. Those private battles weren't in vain. You thought you were surviving, but all the while, something was being prepared. This decision that's been made, it wasn't random. It wasn't born out of luck or chance. It was divine. God has been orchestrating events, aligning hearts and shifting circumstances so that this moment could happen just as it has. Everything that seemed like delay, rejection, or even failure was part of the setup. There's been a deliberate movement in the spirit realm, and now the physical world is starting to catch up. You've been part of this from the beginning, even when you didn't understand the role you were playing, even when you questioned your purpose or your progress. Heaven never took its eyes off of you. Someone with influence has seen what God placed inside you. Your quiet strength, your unshaken hope, your ability to keep moving forward when everything around you screamed to stop. They tried to look past you. They tried to choose differently. But your name kept coming back. There were signs they couldn't ignore, dreams they couldn't shake, nudges they couldn't explain. That wasn't coincidence. It was divine persuasion. God was at work in their heart, turning their attention toward you. When God wants something to happen, no resistance stands for long. And now, that internal stirring has become action. The decision has been made, and though you may not know it yet, it's already changing the atmosphere around your life. This is your moment of shift. The tide is turning. You've waited, endured, and remained faithful. And now the reward is on its way. You don't need to chase it, prove yourself, or beg for recognition. That part has already been handled in the spirit. Heaven has moved on your behalf. What's coming to you is not because you demanded it, but because you were chosen for it. You've grown in silence. You've matured in hidden seasons. You've passed tests that nobody else saw. And because of that, God is turning the page to a new chapter. A chapter where your faithfulness becomes the foundation for favor. Don't be afraid of how things are shifting. Don't shrink back from change. God is not just in the moment. He is the author of it.
Even now, you may feel uncertain. You may wonder why you may question whether you're ready. But readiness in the kingdom isn't about having all the answers. It's about availability. It's about trust. And you've already shown that. By showing up, by holding on, by saying yes when it didn't make sense. That's what qualified you. That's why heaven is saying, now. Everything you've walked through has prepared you for this. The confusion, the heartbreak, the delays, they weren't wasted. They shaped you, refined you, made you capable of carrying what's coming. You've been praying for change, but what's arriving is more than change. It's transformation. And it begins with this unseen but pivotal decision that was made with your name written across it. Even if the person who made the decision hasn't spoken it aloud, its impact has already started to ripple through your life. You'll begin to see it in the conversations that shift, in the doors that open without knocking, in the peace that suddenly replaces anxiety. That's how divine moments show up. Not always with firework, but with clarity, confirmation, and peace. God saw what you let go of, the relationships you released, the comforts you sacrificed, the things you laid down in faith believing something better was ahead. And now, that better is arriving. Not because of striving, but because of surrender. This isn't about earning, it's about aligning. Heaven is aligning you with the next chapter, And it begins with this quiet but powerful turning point. When God seals something, no human hand can undo it. This decision has already been sealed in heaven. You may not feel the fullness of it yet, but it's coming. And when it shows up, it will do more than bless you. It will protect you, position you, and reveal truths you didn't even know you needed. There is divine intelligence in every detail of what's unfolding. You may have felt unseen by the world, but you've always been visible to God. He remembers the nights when you gave even though you were empty. He remembers your loyalty when everything told you to quit. And because He remembers, He now repays, not in small ways, but in life-changing ones. This is a moment of divine repayment, tailored for you, built on your faith, and rooted in His promise. What once felt like silence was preparation. What felt like rejection was redirection. And now you're stepping into something that carries the signature of heaven. You're not entering it alone. God is going with you, guiding every step, confirming every decision, and providing in ways that will leave no doubt that He was in it from the beginning. You've carried a weight that no one else could see, smiling on the outside, steady for those around you, but internally grappling with weariness you didn't always have words for. There were moments when it felt like everything was moving for others while you remained still. The prayers you sent up echoed back without reply. And in that stillness, you began to wonder if heaven had gone silent on you. But what looked like silence was really a divine stillness. God was working beneath the surface in ways far beyond what you could comprehend. You see, heaven isn't bound by the timing we're used to. While we watch the clock, God is watching the heart. And in this season, He's been preparing something that required precision. That's why it's taken time. Not because you're forgotten or unworthy, but because what's being placed into your life demands a foundation strong enough to hold it. God wasn't just answering a request, He was building a future. In your waiting, your character was being forged. Patience became your companion. Wisdom began to settle in your spirit. You learned to let go of things not meant for you, even when it hurt. That kind of growth doesn't show up in applause or recognition. It shows up in silence. And that's where heaven does some of its best work. In the sacred quiet, where distractions fall away and the soul listens. There is a divine strategy to your life. The doors that didn't open weren't closed to punish you. They were closed to protect you. You may have seen them as missed opportunities, but God saw them as misaligned with your calling. He saw what you couldn't, the heartbreak that would have followed, the compromises that would have drained your joy, the detours that would have delayed your purpose. And so, in mercy, He said no. That no, painful as it was, made space for a greater yes. And now, the winds are shifting. Not because you pushed, but because you trusted. You didn't manipulate the process. You didn't chase validation. You stood, you surrendered, and you allowed God to be God. That posture of humility has unlocked something powerful. You may not see the full picture yet, but the pieces are aligning. People have underestimated you. They've looked at your outer life and assumed they understood your story, but they didn't see the oil you've been crushing for in private. They didn't see the tears, the intercession, the obedience when no one was watching. But God saw it all, and now He is bringing visibility to what has been hidden, not for ego, but for purpose. There's a reason certain people couldn't stay. There's a reason you were pulled away from environments that once felt comfortable. God is not elevating you for show. He's positioning you for impact. The room He's preparing for you isn't just about arrival. It's about assignment. Your presence will shift atmospheres. Your words will carry weight, not because of title, but because of truth forged through experience. This next season requires your full authenticity. You won't need to shrink to fit. You won't have to dim your light to keep others comfortable. The people God is sending into your life now will not only recognize your light, they will protect it. You're entering divine alignment, where connection meets calling and community meets clarity. There were days when you questioned whether it was worth it, whether all the losses, the silence, the stretching were preparing you for anything meaningful. But the answer is yes. Every loss cleared the path. Every stretch expanded your capacity. And now you are standing on the edge of fulfillment. Not the shallow kind that fades, but the deep kind that brings rest to the soul. There's a divine timing to everything. And now the clock of heaven has struck a moment that belongs to you. Things are being released, not because you demanded it, but because you're ready. Ready not just to receive, but to carry, to steward, and to pour out. You've been chosen not simply to be blessed, but to be a blessing. You'll begin to notice that the people who once overlooked you will now seek your voice, not because you've changed for them, but because God has shifted their vision. They'll see what was always there, now unveiled in His timing. But your validation won't come from them. It never needed to. It will come from within, from the quiet knowing that you are exactly where you're meant to be. This moment is sacred. Don't rush through it. Let it sink in that what's happening now is divine. It's bigger than a new job, a new relationship, or a fresh opportunity. It's about stepping into alignment with what was written for you long before you were born. It's about purpose, legacy, and the manifestation of promises that once felt out of reach. You are not who you were. You've been transformed by the waiting. The ache of uncertainty has given birth to a deeper trust. You no longer crave instant answers. You've learned to listen for divine whispers. That posture will serve you well in the days ahead, because what's coming isn't just blessing, it's responsibility wrapped in favor. Remember, what you carry is rare. It's not for everyone to understand, and that's okay. You weren't meant to be universally accepted. You were meant to be set apart. The favor on your life will confuse some, attract others, and inspire many. But your role is not to explain, it is to walk faithfully and let God speak through the fruit. So now, breathe. You've crossed through the hard part. You're stepping into the grace of fulfillment. And every step forward will reveal more of what has already been secured for you. The wait was not a punishment, it was preparation. And now that preparation meets purpose. The unfolding has begun.